This is the Tango Alpha Lima podcast.
They call me crazy cause I'm facing all my giants. They try to scare me into thinking I can fight it. They tell me I should never even think of trying. But that's just me, I'm gonna live out in defiance.
Welcome, Alphas. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're hosting Joshua Parish, co-founder and president of Vet Life, Michigan-based nonprofit org empowering veterans and their families as they transition from military to civvy life, baby. Civvy life. He's also the co-creator of From Glory Days Veterans Edition, which is a radio show that amplifies the voices of those who served and highlights community-based solutions. It's going to be a great show for sure. But Stacy's got a little something for you first. Stacy?
Yeah. So on this day in 1965, astronaut Edward Higgins White II became the first American to walk in space during the Gemini 4 mission. So while he was a second in the family, he was the first in space to walk. Anyway, fun fact, Ed was one of the select few at West Point graduates to commission in the Air Force in 1952. That's because he was smart and recognized that the Air Force is a far superior branch. Anyway, I digress.
Did you say it was a farce?
Yeah, a farce, air farce. That's what. Ed went on to become a test pilot over the course of his career. As a weightlessness and extended flight training captain, he piloted the planes that were used to train astronauts. No,
I bet he named his son Astronaut because that's actually a fantastic name.
It's amazing. It's like Space Jams. Anyway, he trained astronauts for weightlessness. His passengers included the John Glenn and
heard of that guy.
He was obviously the first American to orbit the Earth, but most importantly, he also trained Ham the chimp, the first hominid in space.
Hominid.
Sadly, Ed died in 1967 alongside astronauts Virgil Gus Grissom and Roger Caffey in a fire during the pre-launch testing of Apollo 1 at Cape Canaveral. But he did leave his mark on aeronautical history in the U.S. and the world. Thank you, Ed, for your service.
I just want to add here that I don't know what it takes to turn a junior into a second, but I think astronaut, Air Force, I think between those two, I think you can call yourself a second instead of junior because he was Edward Higgins White II.
I never understood when parents have a baby and they're like, we want to name it after the dad. Okay, fine. But how does the debate go about whether it's a junior or a second?
Probably depends on how much money you have.
Is that like my husband is a second? Is that because his dad wanted to be the first? I just don't understand the whole thought process behind that.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want his son to be called Junior. I mean, honestly, that could have been part of it because I know that Junior, for some people, they don't care. But for others, that's not a nickname that they want to go by their whole lives.
Yeah. So, when my husband's oldest son was born, his dad was like, is he going to be the third? And he's like, no, he's going to have his own identity. Thanks, Dad. So there we go. The stance on whether there was going to be 1, 2, and 3 in the family? Absolutely not.
I still vote for astronaut.
Astronaut. That is
That's
definitely.
Just me.
You know what?
All right.
I think that sounds like a perfect dog name as well.
We should raise $6,000 for America's Vet Dogs and name a dog Astronaut.
Astronaut on the AstroTurf.
Alphas, please stick around. We'll be back with Joshua right after the break.
In precision marksmanship, you compete against one of your most formidable opponents, yourself.
It's different than other sports, but it's also a lot of discipline.
I definitely love the intensity and the challenge.
I think that has also helped me come out of my shell because we go to so many different places, meet so many new people.
You gotta make sure that you're always there in the game at all times. It's nice to have like that sort of head-to-head competition.
So just get involved. We'll teach you how.
Welcome, Alphas. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're hosting Joshua Parish, co-founder and president of Vet Life, and that's all capitals. All capitals. A Michigan-based nonprofit organization empowering veterans and their families as they transition from military to civilian life. He's also the co-creator of toilet paper, and a book.
Post-it
that would be big money. That'd be big money.
Joe, if it's all caps, if Vet Life is all caps, don't you have to scream it? Isn't that the text thing? Like, Vet Life!
Well,
My
you know
wife
what?
is
Let's
listening
punish
right
our sound
now.
engineer right now.
She
Let's do that.
made me do it in all caps, so I know she's listening right now. It's her fault, not mine. So.
Vet Life!
Yeah.
Vet Life!
Yeah, you got to do the gang symbol as well. So
I don't know what that is. I think I just joined a gang. I'm so sorry. He's also co-creator of From Glory Days, Veterans Edition, a radio show that amplifies the voices of those who served and highlights community-based solutions. It's going to be a great show as you can already see, we're already goofing around. But before Joshua joins us, Stacy.
Sorry.
What did you do? Are you yelling Vet Life again? I knew you were going to do it. I called you out.
She's not
welcome to the show, and thank you for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on. It's I've been wanting to do this show for a long time. Anybody that knows me, I love LinkedIn, and I'm on there way more than I should be, and I've been following you guys and just for a very, very long time. So it's truly an honor to be able to be a guest on this show.
Well, thanks. And we want to get to know you a little bit. We know you're from Michigan. Obviously, that's where your nonprofit is out of. But we want to know a little bit more.
Here. Yeah.
Oh, you got what part of the Mitt? Because some people are only listening. So
Sault Ste. Marie.
So like the index finger?
Nope. Up here.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Upper Peninsula.
The top hand.
Yeah. Where are you guys from?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay. What about you, Joe?
I am 500 miles underground beneath the Pentagon. No, I'm in Georgia.
I love it. Area 59. There we go. Yeah.
Fun fact, Michigan's amazing. That's where most of my family's from. I used to love to go to Mackinac Island when I was a youngin', mainly for the horses, but also for the taffy.
Love it. Love it.
Horses and taffy. Nice.
Okay, but back to you, Josh, because I really want to know, what drew you to the National Guard? Why the military in the first place? What was your job?
Yeah.
At what point did you meet your wife, Courtney? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, thank you. So I grew up on a little Indian reservation in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Bay Mills Indian community. Spent the first 20 years of my life there. Grew up in had a pretty rough childhood. I'm the oldest of 6. So I took on the father figure role and protector of my mother at a very young age. My father was very abusive to my mother. And then when I got old enough, I would say around 7 or 8, to step in, that's when he started abusing me. And then he left the picture when I was about 12. So, I would be responsible for getting my younger brothers and sisters off the bus, cooking dinner, making sure that they took their baths. And I'm dating myself right now, but my mom used to work at Kmart. So she was a cashier there. And I would say that is when I knew that I really wanted to join the military. After high school, I tried college. I'm actually proud to say that I failed out my first year of college. I just was not ready. I believe I do hold the record in the Upper Peninsula for the lowest cumulative GPA, which is weird because then I went on to graduate with honors from law school 20 years later. So what I'll say is I think I was shaped from a very young age to join the military. After I failed out of college, I had actually went to go join the regular Army, but while I was getting ready to go, I found out that my girlfriend was pregnant at the time, not my wife, just prefacing that right now. And so I went to the National Guard to be a combat engineer because I wasn't going to be able to leave my son for an extended period of time. And so I went to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri as a combat engineer, came home. My son was born 9/10/2001. Day before 9/11, sitting in the hospital room holding him. And I knew, I thought I was watching a movie at first. And then I realized when I changed the channel, that same movie was on every single channel. And I immediately got a call, and it still gives me goosebumps to think about it. I got a call from my company commander and said, hey, we're going to get mobbed, so you got to get back. So had to leave the hospital and go back. And of course, as you know, we didn't get deployed for another 2 years until 03. Went to Iraq as a part of the initial invasion of Iraq, 03, 04. That's me in a nutshell. I know we could kind of peel back the layers of the onion a little bit, but I think there's some more important stuff that we'd like to talk about.
Sure. But I think that helps us better appreciate what led to what you're doing now. So having some context definitely helps. Josh, thanks for giving us that.
Yeah, of course.
So where did you grow up? I mean, I know you mentioned, but I think I read somewhere about you grew up on a Native American reservation.
Yeah, so nobody knows where Bay Mills or Brimley is, but everybody knows where St. Marie is because of the Sioux Locks. So I grew up. I think there was less than 1,000 of us on the reservation at that time, and so I actually grew up for the first 4 or 5 years of my life living in my grandma's 2-bedroom trailer. And so every night I'd have to sleep in the same bed with her. Imagine how kind of weird that is, being a young kid sleeping next to your grandma, chain smoking, Merit ultralights, and watching Lonesome Dove.
Scoot over, honey.
Yeah. Come on, let's go. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I used to have to sleep next to my grandma.
Yeah, and I loved her so much, and she was such a big part of my life. She loved Lonesome Dove. Her name was June, so I have June right here and the Lonesome Dove right there. And not to get too kind of emotional here, but I do say that she shaped my life more than anybody that I know. And so she always used to say this to me as she's smoking her cigarettes, watching me on my little tricycle. I distinctly remember her saying that I needed to leave the world a little bit better place than what I found it. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me. And it's funny, I was actually asked to start writing a book. And my daughter's going to do the foreword. And the first thing I started out was talking about my grandma June because she was such a an integral part of my life. She passed away, I think, when I was 12 or 13, so she didn't really get to see the man that I've become, but I do believe that she'd be really proud of me.
So you've got this really powerful sort of push to serve, to do something with the world, and then you serve as a combat engineer in the U.S. Army, which are two very distinct, powerful, sort of service-oriented experiences that, that again, like you said, started before you were even 12 with your grandmother. So
yeah,
from that perspective, what core values do you feel like, was the reservation part of that, or was it more family that sort of resonated, towards that act of service? Like, you're sitting there holding your first child, and then 9/11 happens, and your first instinct is, I got to do something about this. It's not, oh, gee, what are they going to do? It's you wanted to get involved. I'm just curious where that desire to push and serve came from.
The onus has always been on me to take care of people. And so if I were to have one character flaw, I think it would be that I put too much on myself to take care of other people. I'm the oldest of 6. And so, being a young age that I was and having 4 other people look up to me, and I didn't even know who I was, much less I wasn't an adult back then. But I think I took that to the military too, where when we were overseas, I always volunteered for every mission that we had because I didn't want to go home and say that I did nothing. And at that point, when you're young like that, I'm sure both you guys can attest to this. When you're young, you're invincible. Now, I'm 45 years old. If I went back to Iraq, I don't know if I'd be doing the same stupid stuff I did over there, joking around, people shooting at you, and you're on a boat and with the tracer rounds and stuff. I probably wouldn't be, as jovial as I was back then. So
yeah.
I think we all made some probably decisions that were definitely reflective of our age and mindset of the time.
Dubious, life-altering decisions.
But I don't know if I'd change a minute of it.
No.
Talk to me a little bit about you go to Iraq and you have those experiences and you come home. What was your transition like? Did that impact how you went on to establish your nonprofit? Can you talk to us a little bit about that life?
Yeah, the transition, I would say, however you say horrible in Spanish, that would be it. I went through TAP. I had no idea what TAP was in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And the way it was explained to me, mind you, I'd just gotten off a plane. I hadn't had a drink in 12 months legally. And when I got off the plane, all I really cared about was just getting back to my bunk. And I knew that one of the girls in the unit, her husband had each got us like 2 Bud Lights or something like that. That's all I cared about. I wasn't thinking about, man, I really should go home and put my DD-214 on file with my county, or, I really should think about disability compensation or enrolling in VA healthcare or what a VA home loan is. I just didn't think about that. And so I called it death by PowerPoint, which it's not a new phrase by any means, but I didn't get anything from it. And when I got back home and I started asking for help, because after a while you start processing some of the things that you've seen overseas, and it's like, that was some scary stuff. And then you start asking for help and people are like, man, you're kind of weird. Why are you asking for this help like this? So then you just stop asking. And so I compartmentalized a lot of stuff that I probably shouldn't have. And I started drinking really heavily. And I'm not ashamed to admit that, because it really led me to meeting my wife, and her taking me out of that dark spiral that I was in. And really, she'll say that she took a piece of coal and she molded it into what she thought that I could be, whether it was going back and working to help veterans on a county level, enrolling in to get my undergrad, and then later on with law school. I have to credit her with a lot of that, because honestly, if it weren't for her, I would probably not be doing what I do today, nor would I feel as fulfilled as I do helping the people that we get to help. So happy to go into the weeds a little bit deeper, but I would say that the trajectory of my path was really shaped around what I call the fragmented system of leaving the military, and not feeling like I was taken care of.
So I personally went through, I was Fallujah 2004 with 2-1 Marines. And when I got hurt, we were never put through the TAP. I didn't know the TAPS program existed.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the people, especially early on, and I know it got better because so many people were working hard, most of them civilians, to take care of these veterans. And if it wasn't for organizations that stepped up and did stuff for me and my family, I don't know what that first year or 3 would have looked like for me.
Yeah.
4-month-old or 3-month-old daughter that I'd held for the first time in the hospital. So here I am, like you said, I didn't even know who I was. And I'm expected to now also be a father and a guy who's just had to deal with 6 months in Iraq, and one of the nastiest ground battles that that we've seen in decades. And so, those barriers were very, very, very clear to some of us. And if people don't know what we're talking about, bless you. I'm really, no joke, I'm not bitter about it. I'm very happy that your experience was better. But it's obvious that you had barriers. It's obvious, and you've touched on them a little bit, but I'm curious what it is that really pushed you over the edge and made you decide, not just on Vet Life, but, you mentioned your Battle Buddy app. What are there specific moments, or was it a buildup that made you go, this has got to be attacked. This can't be defended against. It has to be attacked.
Yeah. So I think one of my defining moments was somewhere around 2011, 2012. We moved from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula, southeastern Michigan, about 40 miles outside of Detroit. Wife was going for her master's degree, and she sent me a listing for a County Department of Veterans Affairs office position. No idea what a County Department of Veterans Affairs office is. Put my name in. There was about 150 other people, and I got the job. And so I don't know why, and really to this day I don't care why. I just know that was probably one of the defining moments. First day on the job, my boss said, listen, he goes, I'm of the sink or swim mentality. So I'm not going to tell you how to do this job. You're going to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, it's the military all over again. So I'm sitting there in my office, first year on the job, and I get a call. And I'll tell you, this is a very haunting moment for me. Get a call from a veteran, served in the same area that I did, same time frame. Had a daughter around the same age as me. Had just gotten a DUI, struggling with PTSD, mental health. Wife had left him, took the kids. He's living with his mom. We had just begun starting a veterans treatment court, or started talking about a veterans treatment court, which is a diversion court in lieu of jail. So for whatever reason, I try not to get too invested in these. I have my own stuff going on, so I didn't want to get too invested in somebody else's life. But for whatever reason, he just stuck with me. And so I kind of made it my mission to make sure that he succeeded in life. And because I had been exactly where he had been mentally and physically and whatnot. And so I called him one day and nobody answered. Called the second day. Nobody answered. I started getting like a really bad feeling in my gut. I called the third day and his mom answered, and he had committed suicide the night before. And my oldest daughter now is 20 years old. So his daughter's 20 years old as well. And I can't imagine knowing that she doesn't have a father anymore because he succumbed to his demons. And I said right there, and I don't know what it was, I said to myself right there, I'm going to do something. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to make this world a better place, whether it kills me or not. And so that was my defining moment. That was the trajectory where I said, I'm going to look inside the system on how to make it better. And it's been a hard road because, you know, there's a lot of things in place that people don't want to change on a national level that are broken. And so when you come in as a disruptor and offer your ideas and thoughts when it's not their own, you know, you get a lot of pushback. And so I've just been, every time I get down to myself, I think about him and how many people we can save now by making the system better for veterans. So
appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I know that you continue to make vet life more accessible and to reach those folks that may be struggling. And first of all, I'm really sorry to hear that we had that loss in our community. And, you know, unfortunately, I've had people close to me who've also made that final decision. But hopefully through our efforts, we can just let them know that we're here and hopefully intercede before that ultimate decision is made. But anyway, back to vet life. So you're trying to make it more accessible, and I think that includes what you've just created, which is the Battle Buddy app. Can you talk to me a little bit about how that came to be, what it does, what the purpose of it is?
Well, I think I got to get back. I got to go back just a little bit. So worked for the state of Michigan, coordinating benefits for around 63,000 veterans after I left the county. That was kind of my, you know, putting the chess pieces together.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, the state can't be this bad, as bad as the county, where we expect the veteran to come to us, but veteran doesn't understand what benefits they're entitled to or where to go to get them. State was just the same. You know, we expected the veteran to come to us. It was kind of a perfect storm model. So my wife kind of voluntold me. She said one day, she said, hey, you're going to go take this LSAT. And I said, well, what's an LSAT? She said, it's the law school admissions test. You're really good at arguing, so I think you're going to go to law school. And I said, yes, honey, sure, whatever you want. How do I do that? So she got everything together for me, worked her magic behind the scenes, and then I started law school. So I was doing night law school and working full-time for the state. And she asked me, she's like, are you happy with what you're doing? And I said, no, I'm not, because going up against the government bureaucracy is very difficult when it's just one person. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to start a nonprofit. No idea how to start a nonprofit, no background in business. We're sitting at our kitchen table, and she's like, well, how are we going to set ourselves apart? There's like 45,000 nonprofits in this country that have a veteran designation behind their name. I said, I want to do this. Every event I go to for the state, all they're focusing on is the veteran. To me, the family is the backbone of the veteran after they leave the military, and during as well. So we created this event called Vet Fest. Free event for veterans and their families. We started it in Michigan, in Livingston County. We bring the resource providers down to the veteran. We offer live bands, stuff for the kids, prizes, you name it. It's like a huge festival. So we thought, okay, we'll get 300 or 400 people at the event the first year. We had 1,700 people show up. And it was literally my wife and I hauling picnic tables around. Now, the VA reached out, I think right around the pandemic time, and they said, listen, we love what you're doing, love that you're including the family in the process. Would you mind if we took your playbook and replicated this nationally? I said, yeah, happy to help. So now the VA, each VHA throughout the country has a Vet Fest of some form or fashion. I love doing that event, but it is sweat equity at its finest. I'm helping 3,000 or 4,000 people. That's about what we get every year. But I wanted to do more on a macro scale. So I said, why not create an app where we can give these veterans instantaneous access to all of their benefits using generative AI, using decision trees, bringing the resources down to the veteran. Because think about me, and Joe, I'm not going to speak for you, but when I went through my exit process and, when you had your people that were helping you with that exit process, not everybody reacclimates back to civilian life at the same time. Might be 3 months, might be 6 months, might be 2 years. You wait 2 years and you start going to ask for help and you don't know where to ask, you're kind of running up against a wall. So what we do is we try to empower the veteran to be their own best advocate when they want to gain access to the services. So on the app, we call it a one-stop shop. You want to apply for disability compensation? We'll walk you through that. Do you need your discharge papers? We'll get those for you. You need a VA home loan? Got it. You need resume building? Got it. Hiring? Got it. Education benefits? Everything you need is right there. 24/7 access. And I'm really excited about, I'm not a tech guy, but I started teaching myself how to utilize AI and build companion AI, kind of a chat bot, and it's called Sam. So Sam is going to be there to talk to you, because I feel like a lot of these veterans you don't just wake up one day and you're suicidal. I mean, most people don't. It's compounded. They lose a sense of purpose, lose a sense of identity when they leave the military. They ask for help, they don't get it, and then they start spiraling down. If we can catch these men and women upstream and offer these resources to them, that's why I think we're going to really put a big dent and drastically reduce the veteran suicide rate, because we're letting these men and women know that we care about them before they start falling through the cracks.
Because they'll fall, and they'll fall hard. And
Very
once
hard.
they're down there, they feel abandoned and disenfranchised anyway. And it's hard to get people back. And so having that one-stop shop that you're talking about gives us access to hitting them in that sweet spot. I talk about all the time. For me, I had exactly what you said. It was roughly 2 years before I got into a place to where I knew I needed help and started looking. Not everybody has 2 years.
Mm-mm.
Luckily for me, I never started drinking. I never, when I went in, somebody told me I was going to, and so I didn't, because I'm petty.
Yeah.
And then when I got hurt, I was like, this seems like a really bad time to start.
No.
And it was such a lifesaver that I made over the dumbest reason, and it was a good thing. It's good. I'm glad that I didn't have to fight alcohol on top of everything that I was going through, because what I was going through was already enough. So, your journey involves all this direct combat experience, navigating all these VA systems, and spearheading technological solutions like the Battle Buddy app. I mean, looking back at the veteran you were when you first transitioned out and knowing what you know now, do you think you could have, what would you say to save yourself or somebody else who's going through that process sometime? Do you feel like it's just easier to, and I hate that the best resources for that type of stuff is civilian. It's usually post-military civilians, it's veterans, you know, but what would you say to these guys and gals coming out?
That's a great question. And I can only speak for myself, but I do believe that the military gave me everything that I needed to succeed in life. It's just that I would tell people that are listening today, start thinking about what you want your life to be like prior to leaving the military. And start putting, I tell my children this all the time, start putting the pieces of the puzzle together before you get to adulthood. You don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but you do know a few certain things are going to need to happen. You're going to need to find suitable housing. If you are struggling with your mental health, don't be ashamed to ask for help, because that's the biggest thing. I feel, and I don't speak for any other veteran, just for myself, but I do know that what my military experience was, they told you to just rub dirt on it and don't have to speak, and you know. And so when you get out and you start pouring your heart out to some VA therapist and he's looking at you like, why are you telling me this kind of stuff? And you're like, well, I thought we were supposed to tell you this kind of stuff. And then you just feel stupid for, you know, exposing yourself. So I would say embrace the humility. I mean, you served your country. You did something that less than 1% of the people do in this world, and nothing knocking civilians, nothing at all. But what I would say is that in and of itself is a feat that you should be immensely proud of, and never let anybody make you feel like you're less of a person because you raised your hand and you volunteered to do something that a lot of people don't do. So just be proud of yourself.
I just want to say also that as an amputee, having an extra feet lying around would be nice.
Well, what size shoe are you?
I wear a 14. It's I'm a pretty big old boy.
11. Jeez.
Well,
Like
being somebody with TBI, having an extra brain sitting around would be kind of nice.
Yes.
That's what the phones are trying to do.
No, I like that. You know, this is for me, and I don't know if this will make sense, but doing things like this are therapeutic for me because the more I talk about it, the easier it gets. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times we get caught up in we get caught up so much in being results oriented that we forget to enjoy the process. So, you know, I've started recently making it a point to focus on my family and just being present. It's so easy to be distracted. It's so easy to read and write and sing and do things that are good distractions that, you know, it's like the difference between mindfulness and meditation, in that, you know, and I talk about this a lot because for me, it's been life altering, you know, to be able to just sit in a moment. How long did you have to wait on a bus for school? I mean, did you ever just sit out there? Because sometimes they'd be like 20 minutes late. You're just sitting out there. And if it's raining or whatever, you're just sitting there wet. You can't pull a book out. You're just staring at the ground.
Yeah.
And like, I think back at those moments as very peaceful moments, even though they were very irritating at the time. Once you got past that irritation, you were just present in the moment. And I could tell you how many trees were at the end of my driveway just because of that. And I sort of missed the simplicity of those moments and have had to sort of focus on lining back into that and allowing myself to be fully present in a moment without attaching all these, you know, insane emotions and distractions to it.
Yeah, no, and it's funny you mention that because, you know, where I grew up, they pick you up and then you're on the bus for like 35 minutes, but our bus driver was unique. Her name was Avis Elkhorn. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, but Avis, I don't know what you know, it's like strong women that shape who you are. She she used to make us all get off the bus and pick up cans along the bus route. That's why it would take like 35, 40 minutes to go. Now you try to do that with your kids, Christ, I think CPS would be called and, you know, somebody would be getting fired. But
she made $7 off of that though, dude.
You did. Yeah, and I didn't get 5 cents off that either. But no, what I'm saying is like, I kind of feel sorry for a lot of these younger troops because I didn't have a cell phone when I went to Iraq. You know, I had to pay one of the kitchen staff, Kuwaiti dinar, who's ever listening today who knows what that is, KD. You know, you had to pay somebody money to use their satellite phone to call home like once every 3 months, whatever it was. And I didn't care. I mean, I really didn't. I was just kind of enjoying the ride. But now, man, you have social media. You have 24/7 instantaneous access to everybody else's lives. And my kids don't go outside anymore. I mean, they're not out, you know. I was 8, 9 years old with a .22 out shooting squirrels and cooking them out in, you know, some wild, savage Indian child, and nobody batted an eye. I'd get home at 7 o'clock sometimes in the summer when my mom wasn't working. She didn't ask me where I was for the last 12 hours. Now my daughter can't even walk up to the bus stop that's 100 feet away. It's like, I honestly feel really bad for a lot of these younger generation soldiers.
Yeah.
I would say that anybody who I think has been in would say the same, that as far as mental health goes, it is easier to sit in one space than it is to bounce between two. And I was a different human being, not a bad human being, but I was very focused. And I was, when I was in Iraq, I was Doc Worley. I was a corpsman. That's what I was. And those every month or 6-week phone calls that I made back, I had to be somebody else for her. I couldn't be that person for her.
Yeah.
And then the transition was not always smooth. It was harder. It was depressing. You had to sort of work your way back into it. And I think having that constant access to home makes us two people when we need to be able to compartmentalize. And I don't, and it's not for everybody. Again, I speak for myself. But I think that the distractions don't help us. I think the distractions were bad. I can remember the distractions and then we're definitely doing the old back in my day thing, but it's our turn. We had to deal with it then, and now it's our turn. And I think for us, watching Dark Angel or Smallville, around a 8-inch DVD screen, cuddled up to your entire squad in 110-degree weather, that was our escape.
Yeah.
I mean, even then we were close enough you could pick each other's noses with your tongue if you wanted, you know, not that the Marines did that much. I usually stop that, but
we were attacked
you ate mainly crayons.
Yeah, there was a lot of crayons.
You guys were crazy in Iraq. No, we were attached to
They were.
You guys are nuts.
I will say the craziest thing, the Marines were consistently more crazy, but the top crazy was I went out with an Army PSYOPs group one time, and that was top crazy. They were like, you want to come out? I mean, I've been with Marines, so I was like, yeah, sure. You guys need a medic, a corpsman. And so I volunteered to go out with these guys in a bait car playing Bombs Over Baghdad by Outkast. And like, that was top crazy. I was in the middle of the city when I realized what I had done to myself.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I was in, don't get me wrong. Like, it was one of those things where you go, oh, okay, we literally could die here.
Yeah.
Army PSYOPs, you guys were crazy.
Josh, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us. Hey, Alpha, don't forget to check out vetlifetoday.org to learn more about what Josh is doing and all the incredible programs. You can find that app there as well. And also YouTube channel, the podcast, you can find the social media handles there. Don't forget to click on there and follow Vet Life. We'll also have all of that in the show notes. So please, whatever you do, don't text and drive or click the link while you're trying to drive and navigate to the website. Don't miss out on the website, but just don't do it while you're driving. Josh, before we wrap up, is there anything that we may not have covered that you think is important for Alphas to know?
Yeah, I do. And this was always a passion piece for me. I always knew I wanted to do it. But I felt like I lost my voice when I left the military. And I always want to give people the opportunity that may have been similarly situated like me an opportunity to speak about what their life was like in the military and after, really. So I was fortunate enough to have Cumulus Media reach out and say they wanted to offer me a radio show. When we call it From Glory Days Veterans Edition, where we bring veterans on and we talk about what life was like prior to joining the military, what life was like during their military experience, and really how they've replicated their success after they've left the military. And, believe it or not, we've had some big names on. We've had David Petraeus and Jack Tilley and some big names, but some of the best stories, and Joe, I didn't script this out for you, but one of the best stories I've ever heard on the show was a Marine Corps veteran, might have been a corpsman, might have been an 0311, I'm not sure, named Tom Meharry. Coined himself Tommy Scary Meharry. That's how these Marines, apparently they all give themselves nicknames. And coincidentally, he was just kind of like me, kind of like screwed around in life a little bit, didn't know what he wanted to do. Now he's like the VP of operations for Kathy Ireland, who's a pretty big name brand. But I will tell you, his story is so engaging. And if you ever want to get a good laugh, go search that story up. One of the best ones I've heard so far. But other than that, I would say, no, the Battle Buddy app is absolutely amazing. And if I could just impart a little bit of wisdom. You have your institutions that may fight back a little bit about changing how we help veterans. But what you can't deny right now is the organic way that we've grown this nonprofit and this app. In 2 months, we've had 40,000 downloads of the app. They're everywhere. Veterans are saying we need something like this. The system in place right now needs to be updated, and something like this Battle Buddy app needs to be installed in everybody's smartphones. You might not need it today, tomorrow, a month, 2 months from now, but eventually you're going to need it, and it's there for you when you do need it. So Stacy, Joe, everybody that's in this room right now, I really, truly appreciate you giving me the platform to tell my story, and hopefully it resonates with other people. And I know that what we spoke about, Joe and Stacy, has really resonated with me with the TBI, with the loss of use of limb. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you. You're doing work that not a lot of people want to do.
Brother, we appreciate you and you continuing to serve. You're making a difference and you're changing lives. It's interesting when you go through bad stuff and it opens up a big old door that you never thought that you'd see to do things for other people. And we're just happy to do our part. Yeah. So we do appreciate that. And so Alphas, we hope you had a wonderful time talking to this wonderful man, Mr. Joshua Parish. Please stick around for some Scuttlebutt after the break.
The American Legion is raising awareness about PTSD and veteran suicide by offering hope, camaraderie, and support.
Be the one to help end veteran suicide.
Be the one to save one veteran.
Be the one to ask a veteran in your life how they're doing.
Be the one to reach out when a veteran is struggling.
Go to betheone.org and help the American Legion end veteran suicide.
Will you be the one?
Okay, Alphas. We hope you had a great break. Now it's time for some Scuttlebutt.
That's Scuttlebutt.
That was actually adorable.
That's so Scuttlebutt of you.
As you may know, I just wrapped on filming season 3 of After Action, my show on PBS about veterans issues and stories. If you haven't binge watched season 1, and if you haven't binge watched season 2, please do that before season 3 drops. Show your support for me. Anyway, one of the 7 episodes for this season focus on housing insecurity amongst the veteran community, which sadly is a problem. It's obviously in the forefront of my mind and an issue that I monitor and advocate for. Not advocate for homelessness, but for getting housing security in our community. Anyway, that said, a recent article that came across CBS news story out of Los Angeles definitely caught my eye. So I wanted to share that with you. CBS reported that a recently signed executive order aims to turn the West Los Angeles Veterans Affairs Medical Campus into the nation's largest center for homeless veterans care. Now, I know the American Legion has had this on their radar and has been pushing for this. So this seems like a bit of a win. Obviously, having the backing of the American Legion and pushing for it definitely can make it in the forefront. So anyway, it goes on to say, the order directs the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to establish a center of the National Center for Warrior Independence, which will offer homeless veterans the chance to seek and receive care, benefits, and a range of services, including substance abuse treatment and support for productive work. By 2028, they hope to house up to 6,000 homeless veterans at the center. According to whitehouse.gov, more than 100 years ago, Senator John Percival Jones and Arcadia Bandini de Stearns Baker, that is quite the name.
It's way better than Junior.
Junior. Sounds so Jersey. Generously donated hundreds of acres of land that they owned in West Los Angeles on the condition that it be used to house disabled veterans. The campus once featured a chapel, billiard hall, 1,000-seat theater, and housed about 6,000 veterans. But the federal government, in their infinite wisdom, has since allowed this crown jewel of veteran care to deteriorate over the last few decades. The Department of Veterans Affairs leased parts of the property to private schools, private companies, a baseball team, and sometimes at a significantly below market value rate. As of 2024, there were approximately 3,000 homeless veterans in Los Angeles, more than in any other city in the country, and accounting for about 10% of all of America's homeless veterans. That's staggering. Many of these heroes live in squalor in Los Angeles, in a place called Skid Row. Not the band, but the location. Work to restore self-sufficiency and the warrior ethos among homeless veterans through any guidance requirements and services needed to ensure the homeless veterans can access housing, receive substance abuse or addiction treatment, and return to productive work and community engagement is the goal. So if you or someone you know is facing housing insecurity, be sure to check with your American Legion VSO or go online and visit legion.org to learn more about the various homeless veterans programs offered.
So you're telling me that if this place was fixed up, they could house literally every veteran person that is unhoused in Los Angeles if this place was fixed up?
Yes. And I think more importantly is they would have the means and the capability of helping those veterans identify what led to housing insecurity in the first place and get them either the treatment, training, education, or health benefits that they need to get back on the right foot.
I mean, even if you were to set aside 1,000 of those as temporary or probational in order to help people that have been suffering and have fallen on and have developed other bad habits, time to work through it, knowing that they could work themselves into the larger community. Like, why? I just don't understand why, especially in Los Angeles, it seems to me like there's one person could just decide to fix this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's surely in Los Angeles, there's someone who could do this and it wouldn't even dent their finances. This is why I'm not rich, by the way. This is because this is the kind of stuff that just seems like common sense to me. Like, I'm sure that's going to would cost $40 million to get it up to code. But that's literally like there's houses that cost more than that in that area.
To create a motion picture would cost less than that. You know what I mean? Like, no, like creating a motion picture would cost more than what it would cost to refurbish.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is stressing me out. Okay, if you're rich and you're in Los Angeles, please help my sanity. Let me know what I can do to help you. I'll throw $20 at it. If you can cover the other 40 million, just let me know, because this just seems wild to me.
Maybe we can start a campaign where it's like, will folks in Hollywood or Los Angeles match every dollar that we donate within the veteran community?
Yeah, at 3-to-1.
Or at least 5-to-1.
I guess we'll start with 1-to-1, then we'll work our way up.
I don't mean to spend everybody's money out in Hollywood, but or you know what? Anybody.
It's not mine. I don't mind.
Anybody who has money to spare, this is a really, really important issue. And the one thing that we focus on in After Action for this season, the one thing we focus on is that housing insecurity is not just about somebody who may be dealing with a substance use disorder. They may have fallen onto hard times. I mean, I had one veteran tell me the difference between being housed and unhoused could just be one paycheck. So, and that could not, not be their fault at all. They could have just been laid off from work and are at their last penny. So please don't be critical in thinking that homelessness means people made bad choices. That's not always the case. And especially within the veteran community, when a lot of the veterans are carrying around a lot more baggage than the average person. And so sometimes grappling with that and the burden of getting through a day in the human life experience can be challenging. So have some grace and make sure that if you are facing housing insecurity, don't wait till it's too late to ask for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for a hand up. It's not a handout. So keep that in mind.
You would be honored to help someone else. So other people, give them that blessing of being able to help you. Because we've talked about this today at some point already about you being helped opens up doors for you to help other people. It makes you way more resourceful for that type of thing. And I think that veterans, we see ourselves as a big community, and we may not always be close knit, but we get there very quickly when you put a group of veterans together. Every episode that you have, I'm sure that by the end of the episode, those people feel like family. Most of them feel like family. They feel it because they have this experience together. We have sort of a shared trauma bond of being in the military. And so you learn, you got to police yourselves. You got to, watch out for each other and watch out for yourselves. And anybody who's ever lived in check out the smooth transition. Anybody who's ever lived in a community knows that you gotta take care of your own business.
This is true.
And this is how we start talking about the mysterious poop chucker. So this mysterious poop chucker might be targeting a Colorado woman for not picking up after her dog's waste, according to the Denver Gazette. So an interesting situation has reportedly been unfolding, and I'm not picking sides here because the way I see it, if you're not putting your cart up at the grocery store and you're not picking up after your dog, consequences sometimes happen, and sometimes it comes in the form of a gloved hand throwing a turd at you.
I mean, how hard is it to put your grocery cart back?
I mean, if you've got a disability or a small child, I'm not talking about you. If you're upset over me saying this, that's what I'm talking about. Because you could. I'm not talking about people with like small children who would try to get into the driver's seat the second you walk away. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people that just roll their buggy across the cart and parking lot. Anyway, somebody needs to throw poop at you.
Chucking.
The mysterious poop chucker needs to do a tour, a national tour. So in Colorado's mountainous Summit County in recent days and weeks, believed to be involve a vigilante. I mean, could you imagine you get your superhero name?
Did you say vigilante?
Vigilante. Well, my aunt was a vigilante, so I called her vigilante. Vigilante, can we have spaghetti tonight?
Oh, you must be from the Italian household.
Yeah, her name was Vigilante. Aunt Mia.
Hopefully Vigilante was not a poop chucker.
So she's whoever this vigilante is punishing those who fail to pick up their dog's waste. So according to the Summit County Sheriff's Office, I'm so glad that the office is, hopefully the FBI gets involved. This is obviously important. A woman in unincorporated Silverthorne called to report that an unknown man has been throwing bags of dog poop into her yard and onto her driveway over the past month. The woman was able to capture security footage of the vigilante committing the act, also suspecting a neighbor as the culprit. I mean, Would you drive with bags of poop in your car? Of course it's a neighbor. Is
Happy
it Sherlock
Valentine's
Holmes?
Day.
Deputies reached out to the man that the woman listed as a suspect in the case, only to find out that he did not match the description of the person, and he's left-handed. Of the person in the surveillance video.
No, he chucked it like a hacky sack. He used his foot.
Oh, he kicked it with his The investigation into who the mysterious poop chucker might be continued in the woman's neighborhood, but no suspect could be identified. I'm sure that the cops are right on this. They're like, we've got to get a car out there. So during the investigation, however, several of the woman's neighbors noted that the woman involved is known for failing to pick up her dog's waste. I feel like this is returning forgotten property.
I feel like I need to know what breed of dog the suspect has. Are we talking about Great Dane, Mastiff size, or are we talking about Chihuahua, Dachshund size?
A sin is a sin, Stacy.
Well, that's the difference between like a turd, a Tic Tac turd, and a tank turd.
A Tic Tac turd and a tank turd? That's beautiful. You're a poet.
I know.
You really
One
when it comes to poop,
one can smear the whole bottom of your tread. The other one might just get stuck in your toe.
Are you going to recite a haiku for us?
Genius. How does this story end, Joe?
today.
Get us off this cliff. I'm going to jump.
So one neighbor even noted that the unknown man in the area seems to be on a crusade against those who do not pick up after their dogs, suggesting that the person might be behind all of the bags of poop ending up on the woman's property.
Wow.
So the investigation into the situation is ongoing.
My other question is this fella just sitting there at his window with his binoculars out the front window, waiting for the gal to walk by with her dog? Said dog poops. He runs out, picks it up with what? Does he use a dog bag, a Ziploc bag, a paper, his bare hands? Like, I need to know what the scenario is here. And then does he stalk her home? How does he know where she lives?
It's the only yard with no poop in it.
The one that's
pretty easy to narrow down, Stacy.
This is true. Dang it.
But the law enforcement's letting the woman know she is likely being targeted due to not picking up after her dog.
Duh.
So apparently what I'm getting is this lady doesn't like poop in her yard, but she doesn't mind being a hypocrite and leaving it in other people's yards. Wow. I tried to make a poop joke out of hypocrite. I didn't have anything. You get anything with that?
Hypocrite.
This is why you get paid the big bucks, Stacy.
Well, that just means that my mind is at a third grade level, that I can come up with stuff like that.
Well, I'm second grade, so I look up to you in a lot of ways.
We're growing together, Joe.
We're growing together.
We're going to be in timeout soon. Super producer Holly's waving us off.
She's shaking your head in disappointment, and that's not the first time.
Alphas, the moral of this story is don't let your dogs poop in another person's yard without policing it, and don't be a vigilante and chuck poop at other people simply because they do bad.
Or vigilante.
How do you turn two wrongs don't make a right into a poop joke? Go, Joe.
Man, I'm so intimidated by you that I can't come up with my own joke.
Alphas, you can come up with some number 2 kind of joke for us, and that'll be number 1 in our books. Thanks for listening. You can subscribe to our podcast, our newsletter, or send us mail and guest recommendations at legion.org/Tango Alpha Lima. Until then, we'll see you next week.